I'm Meryl.
And I'm Amanda.
And this week we are making the 2 finalist recipes for your best fig recipe. The first is a fig and anise clafoutis by We Chef. The second is
Caramelized Figs by Luli's.
And we're just going to dive right into the clafoutis. The first thing we're going to do is take some slivered almonds and pop them in the oven to toast a little bit.
And while Meryl does that, I'm going to start cutting the figs. And we're using black mission figs, and we're going to just quarter them lengthwise. So we're using these nice, fresh mission figs, and if you can't get them, you can use the dried mission figs, which I have made this clafoutis with, and it's really good.
Yeah, why don't you get started on the batter, and I'll
Okay.
finish these up.
Great. For batter, you need to pull out a mixer or get ready to whisk. I mean, you could definitely do this by hand, no problem.
Yeah.
It's a very loose batter. It's almost like a
Batter.
crepe batter.
Yeah.
It's super loose. And clafoutis is really just like a custard that often contains fruit and some kind of booze.
Yeah, lovely pile. Use 20 whole black mission figs. We'll set those aside.
I cracked 3 eggs into the mixer, and I'm going to beat them until they're frothy. This is the eggs when they're frothy, and to them I'm going to add vanilla bean seeds scraped from the vanilla bean. And if you can't get a good vanilla bean, you can also just use extract. I would start with a half a teaspoon. And some lemon zest, some sugar, a half a cup, 3/4 of a cup of milk, a tablespoon of brandy.
We Chef calls for Calvados, but we don't have any, so we're just using regular brandy.
You could use any spirit you like. Essentially, you just want to dissolve the sugar. I'm adding a little salt, and Meryl's going to add the flour.
It's just enough to sort of hold things together.
You just want to get it all worked in without any lumps. And so, yeah, this is it. And we just let it sit for 15 minutes before we assemble the clafoutis and get it in the oven.
Yeah. So We Chef calls for anise seeds, which he has you toast lightly until they get fragrant, and that's actually one of the things we really love about this recipe. It's really thoughtful.
Yeah.
And We Chef really maximizes the flavor of each ingredient by doing something to it. So basically with this, you just put the heat on, and you have to watch it carefully. Well, actually you have to smell it carefully. And the minute you start to smell the anise, you can take it off, because you're really just trying to get the oils going.
Warmed up, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think they're done. So we'll put them on the back burner, turn this off. I have some butter melting in this pan over medium-high heat. You want it pretty hot. And I'm going to add honey, the rest of the seeds from the vanilla pod, as well as the pod itself. So now that this is sizzling away, I'm going to put in the figs. Be careful, because this could, be careful. Pinch of salt, a little bit more, and the toasted anise.
Yeah. Sprinkle it around.
And then you basically cook this, just sort of gently turning the figs until they are essentially slightly softened and get nicely coated in this honey butter. Yeah. Some of them are starting to soften up a little bit more than others. I would say we're almost there, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So now we just bring over the figs and tip them into the lovely sugared pan.
Them around, and it does kind of mush up the sugar coating that you just did, but it's fine. And then you sprinkle with the almonds. We can do it together. Oh, they're hot.
Oh!
Yeah. Oh.
Maybe. How about if we do it like this?
How do we do it like that? And you just gently pour it over.
You pop her in the
Yeah,
oven.
let's go.
On 400, which is very high. So while the clafoutis is baking, we are going to make the other recipe, which is called fichi carmelati, which is caramelized figs in Italian.
Yeah.
And it's actually by Luli's, which is 2 women, actually, Bettina and Suzanne, who are good friends.
So you start with whole figs, and then you just slice a little, make a little slit in the top, like that, and then you hand it over to Meryl, and she stuffs it.
And I stuff it with a little sliver of lemon peel. You just sort of tuck it in. So we're just going to stuff them all and place them in this large, shallow saucepan.
So the recipe calls for 2 pounds of figs,
Mm-hmm.
and we've made it several times now. And essentially, I mean, you can use 2 pounds of figs, but you could also use a handful of figs. You just basically want to use a pan that holds the figs so that they're all standing up and they're kind of
Nestled in.
Yeah, nestled in.
Yeah.
And then you can adjust the sugar and other amounts.
They do look oddly like little animals when you stick in the little lemon tongues.
They look like frogs to me.
They do look like frogs or Pac-Mans.
Yeah.
Or we were talking about this the other day. There was that game in the 80s where you were fishing for with a little magnetic fishing pole for little fish that were coming out of the water and grabbing them. These guys look kind of like those.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Helen's too young to know that game. But I'm sure all of you remember it.
Exactly. All right, so we brought the figs over to the stove. I'm going to add the sugar, and Meryl's going to get the rum and water mixture ready. You have to eye up the rum and water because the recipe says you just want a 1/4 inch of it. And so we're starting with a 1/2 cup of rum and a 1/2 cup of water.
Mm-hmm.
And then you tuck a vanilla bean.
Trying to get some of the sugar. I think we're going to need a little. Well,
I think
actually,
it looks good.
yeah, I think
I
that's good.
think that's perfect.
Yeah. So
And
it's
then-
a 1/2 cup of each.
Yeah, and then you just crank the heat. You want it to be kind of like at an active simmer.
Yeah.
The idea is that you're reducing the syrup until it is thick enough to glaze all the fruit, and then that's basically it.
Yeah. So our figs are simmering away happily. You really want this nice full simmer. We're going to let them do their thing for a little while, and we're going to check on the clafoutis.
So you can see that it's bouncy, and that's exactly what you want.
I'm just going to sprinkle some powdered sugar over the fig and anise clafoutis by Wee Chef. Finishing touch. You want to wait until this cools, otherwise the sugar will just melt away before your eyes.
And with Luli's figs, what I'm going to do is just spoon some into a bowl with some Greek yogurt, which we think is a perfect way to serve it. If you have some good ricotta or mascarpone or
Anything creamy.
basically anything.
Any dairy.
Basically.
Yum.
Yeah, so just a little bit of the fruit and then a little bit of syrup on top. I actually think it makes a perfect breakfast.
Ooh, yeah. Yum.
With a little kick of rum.
Perfect thing to wake you up in the morning.
Yes.
So here we go. We have our 2 fig recipes, and it's up to you to decide which goes in the cookbook.
You have until Tuesday.